Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror series known for its vague and mysterious lore, and if you're in the gaming sphere, you probably know that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has been made. This raises the important question of how in God's name are they going to make a good, coherent movie out of the most convoluted, contradicting, retconning, and vague series of all time? Well, they probably won't. It'll probably be terrible, but if you want to get the most out of the movie, you're going to need to know the series. Most full analysis videos you'll find will take an ungodly amount of time, so I'm here to give you the entire story of FNAF in under 10 minutes. So we start with two dudes, Purple Guy and Henry Emily, and if his name sounds weird, it's because Emily was probably retconned into being his last name. Shit like that happens a lot in this series. In fact, I'm going to have a counter for every time something was definitely meant to be one thing, but they retconned it into something else. They owned Fredbear's Family Diner, a restaurant featuring singing animatronic animals. These animatronics were different from your normal Pasquale down at the old Charles Cheese's though. People could actually get in them and use them as suits, but they looked at this and said, not creepy enough, so they made them wander around too, which kind of makes the whole suit aspect redundant, but whatever. Purple Guy had 3 kids, the youngest of which was named Pemberton. Pemberton loved Freddy FNAF Bear so much that one day his older brother lifted him up to give him a big kiss. But Markiplier had tampered with Freddy, so then...
Was that the bite of 87?
Except it wasn't the bite of 87, it was actually the bite of 83, and there are 2 bites in the 80s, and apparently a third one too some other time. Purple Guy gets so sad that he turns yellow in this one mini-game only for no reason and vows to bring his son back. And one night, while doing his favorite activity of drunk driving, he decided to start murdering other children because, I don't know, he works by like Aztec sacrifice rules or something. He put on the bunny suit and killed kids in the restaurant and then stuffed them in the animatronic suits. And even though he was caught on camera doing this multiple times and even got arrested, they somehow couldn't find the bodies in the most obvious place they would be, and he somehow doesn't go to jail. But Chuck E. Cheese can't go all John Wayne Gacy and expect to get away scot-free, so he did get kicked out of the company and the restaurant shut down. In 1987, Henry decides to open another location, and this is FNAF 2. Oh yeah, all this happens before any of the games even take place, by the way. Also, the second game is actually the first game, which means that these animatronics are older than these ones, even though they clearly aren't. So, in FNAF 2, it's believed you play as Purple Guy in disguise, who Henry hired as the night guard because he just didn't fucking notice, I guess. So, like, immediately, Purple Guy goes and puts on the exact same suit and kills more kids. But now, the animatronics are getting possessed by the spirits of all the kids he's killed. And you might think, oh boon, so this must mean that the animatronics bit Purple Guy as vengeance, and that's the bite of 87. Except no, they just bit some random day shift security guard for no fucking reason, and Purple Guy just gets away with it again. So that place shuts down, and Purple Guy decides to open his own restaurant with the child murder robots he built in his underground bunker that I haven't mentioned until right now. But when his daughter went to play with one of the child murder robots, can you guess what happened to the child? I didn't know where in the video to put this, but Purple Guy's entire family talk with British accents despite being American, which is really funny. And also I skipped FNAF 4, which might actually be the first game in the series, and sees a young Pemberton getting attacked in his bedroom by nightmare robots that use this little disc that emits a sound that allows them to visually morph into anything, but this may have all just been an elaborate dream sequence in the head of Pan Stan, the Pan animatronic. So anyways, that business fails, and instead he just rents out the murder robots or something. At some point, Purple Guy goes back to the shutdown pizzeria to destroy all of the animatronics for no particular reason, and gets confronted by the ghost of the dead kids, and he decides to jump in his rabbit costume for, again, no particular reason, but it's held together by like zip ties, and it collapses in on him and he dies, except he doesn't die, and Henry finds him there and decides the best way to deal with the situation is to just wall up the room Cask of Amontillado style. Purple Guy's living son Mike works for the rental company in FNAF's sister location, which is located in his father's evil bunker, and long story short, all the animatronics from the company come together to form one super animatronic, and they scoop Mike like a fucking ice cream cone and live in his hollowed out body pretending to be a human. When that brilliant plan obviously didn't work, they leave the body, and despite being a decaying corpse, now a literal Purple Guy, he just stands up and keeps living. So now there's 2 Purple Guys and their father and son, but only one of them is actually purple and the other is now called Springtrap. Now there's an about 30-year gap where literally nothing happens, and I guess Purple Guy 2 and all the other animatronics are just chilling during that time. I like to imagine they were moved by 9/11 and went to serve their country in Afghanistan. In FNAF 1, you play as Mike Schmidt, who may or may not be Purple Guy 2, as he works the night guard shift at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, fending off animatronic attacks. It's where it all began, the most iconic and arguably still best game of the series. It has basically no plot relevance and nobody is sure when it even takes place. Oops, Whoopsie. Anyways, FNAF 3, which is actually like the 5th game. It's the 2020s and some random dudes come across Springtrap and instead of, reporting this obviously dead body to the police, decide to turn the old pizzeria into a haunted house with him as the centerpiece. Pissed that his father, murdered kids and made murder robots, Purple Guy 2 went to be the night guard there, where eventually he burned the place down because everyone knows this released the ghost from the animatronics, except it doesn't work on Springtrap, so good job, buddy. Anyways, Henry opens a new Freddy Fazbear's and Purple Guy 2 gets the job as manager because there's only 4 characters in this fucking series, and if it's not them, it's them in disguise. Little does he know that the entire job is just a ploy to get all of the old animatronics into one place so Henry can burn it and release all of their souls, cause I guess it'll work the second time. Despite never seeing any of the murders or seeing the animatronics do anything weird, he somehow knows that they're all haunted and by who, and also one of them is his daughter, which I never mentioned, and also they all inexplicably look different now, but fucking whatever. Now, there's an ending to the game where you just get sued into oblivion for obvious reasons, and that's the one that I consider canon, but I guess that wouldn't be narratively satisfying, so whatever. Instead, the animatronics eventually all show up, I guess, and Henry lights the fire. Henry, Purple Guy 2, Springtrap, and all the other animatronics get burned, and their souls released, completing the story of FNAF. There's more game- Oh, they fucking ruined it, didn't they? Now, we go to FNAF VR, where it's revealed that all the previous games were actually just games made to make Freddy Fazbear Corporation look bad and aren't actually real. You see, they were all made by some crazy indie developer, which is the only part of the lore that I believe wholeheartedly. So the games are also games in the game, so they didn't actually happen, except they did because Springtrap is still alive somehow as an AI inside the VR game, which is also a game in the game that takes over your mind. Remember when this was a series about creepy animatronics? So instead of taking the games in a new direction, FNAF decided to go with the tried and true method of having a super satisfying conclusion that completes the hero's story, and then bringing back the bad guy anyways for no reason and completely ruining the ending and making the sacrifice of main characters pointless. Everybody loves when this happens. And don't even get me started on whatever the fuck FNAF AR is. In FNAF Security Breach, even after everything that's happened, Fredbear Corporation opens a massive mall themed entirely around Freddy as an 80s rock star, even though it's like the 2030s at this point. I also want to mention that Fazbear Corp is like this evil jackass entity throughout all of the games that clearly knows what's going on and isn't run by Henry, and they're clearly one of the main bad guys of the series, but nobody ever seems to acknowledge their role in anything that happens, so what the fuck do I know, I guess. But back to Security Breach, even though it's now a AAA game, it's somehow even more convoluted and divisive, which is why I'm not even gonna try to explain it. Freddy might be Purple Guy 2, Springtrap might just be straight up alive, unless they also retcon that retcon. AI Purple Guy takes over this lady, except not really, and she's actually her own separate killer, and the main character may be an animatronic with amnesia who also murders kids and has the soul of Pemberton, which isn't this character's name, by the way. I've just been straight up lying. And the story is still technically being made, but my headcanon is that every single character is publicly executed and burns in hell, and the Pizzaplex is demolished by Helpy the Help Bear to make room for his new tax firm. So go see the movie if you want. I mean, look at this shit. It's gonna be funny as fuck, but at least the 7-part film theory series on it is going to go crazy.